The last thing I remember before losing consciousness was the taste of something sweet, something rich, something warm, something that had been carefully prepared, just for me. I woke up under cold fluorescent lights, and 4 drip in my arm, a heart monitor ticking beside me like a clock counting down. The door was half open, and through that half-open door, I heard 2 voices. A whisper. Tight. Controlled. Are you sure she took it? A pause. Then a quiet laugh. Almost casual. Relax, Mom. She ate half the plate. By tomorrow morning, everything will be ours. My blood didn't just go cold. It stopped. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I didn't reach for the call button above my bed. I reached for my phone. Battery at 34%. I opened my messages, found one name, and typed 4 words. Execute the plan now. What happened next, they never saw coming. But before I tell you what I built in silence, I need to take you back. Because what happened at that dinner table didn't start the night they poisoned my dessert. It started the night they first decided I was something they could own. Before this story goes any further, take 1 second to subscribe to this channel. Because stories like this one are reminders that silence is not weakness. Silence is strategy. And if you have ever had to protect everything you built from the very people who were supposed to protect you, this story will feel like your own. My name is Vivian Rowan. I am 34 years old. I grew up in Harnett County, North Carolina, in a double-wide trailer on 2 rented acres surrounded by soybean fields and quiet roads and the kind of poverty that teaches you something school never can. My mother raised me alone. She worked nights at a gas station, weekends at a church thrift shop. She never complained. She never explained. She just kept going. And watching her do that carved something into me very early. Nothing comes free. Nothing stays unless you hold it with both hands. I earned a scholarship to nursing school, graduated top of my class, took a job in the emergency room at a major medical center in Charlotte and worked 4-year weekend shifts, holiday overnight, 12-hour double back-to-backs, the kind of hours that age your knees but sharpen your instincts. Then I enrolled in graduate school, a family nurse practitioner program. 2 years. I passed the boards, earned my license to diagnose, prescribe, and build full treatment plans on my own. But even with all of that, there was one thing the ER couldn't fix. Every week, I watched patients get discharged back to nothing. Elderly men sent home to empty apartments. Women recovering from surgery with no one to check if they were eating. The hospital treated the emergency. Nobody treated the aftermath. So I decided to. I started Rowan Home Health from my kitchen table. 1 laptop. 1 filing cabinet. A phone that did not stop ringing. Within 2 years, 6 employees. Within 5, 23. We covered 6 rural counties. In-home nursing, post-surgical care, medication management, physical therapy, referrals. I drove to see patients myself every single Saturday morning. Not because the job required it. Because Mrs. Delano in Stanley County had no children. Because Mr. Whitfield in Anson County could not put on his own compression stockings. Every contract, every hire, every late-night reconciling payroll. Mine. I had built something real from nothing at all. And I was proud of it the way you can only be proud of something that almost broke you before it worked. I was good at taking care of other people. I was terrible at noticing when someone was quietly circling me. I met Tyler Prescott at a fundraiser for rural health clinics in Cabarrus County. He was tall, quiet. He had a way of listening that made you feel like the only person in the room. He asked me about my work. And when I told him I ran a home healthcare agency, he didn't glaze over. He didn't change the subject. He asked how I handled Medicaid reimbursements. That got my attention. We dated for 11 months. He was gentle, steady. He never once talked over me. That felt like love. When he brought me home to meet his family, I thought I had found something I had been quietly hoping for my entire life. The Prescott house sat on 3 acres in a gated community outside Mint Hill. Gretchen, his mother, met me at the door with a hug that smelled like Chanel perfume and fresh bread. She held my face in both hands and said, "You are exactly what this family needed." The table was set with china that had been in the family for decades. Candles. Good wine. A roast that had been cooking since afternoon. Gretchen asked about my business, my mother, my plans for the future. She leaned forward when I spoke. She laughed at the right moments. She refilled my glass before I asked. It felt warm. It felt like belonging. Tyler's younger sister, Paige, sat across from me. Polished. Fresh blowout. Perfect nails. Linen blouse. She smiled and asked all the right questions, but her eyes were doing something different. They were measuring me. The way you measure a room you are deciding whether or not to rent. I noticed. I filed it away. Tyler checked his phone twice during dinner. Both times, the message was from Gretchen. Both times, he answered immediately. I filed that away, too. On the drive home, Tyler said, "Mom already loves you." I squeezed his hand and smiled. Looking back now, the warmth was never warmth at all. It was research. Gretchen Prescott was appraising me before I even knew I was for sale. 6 months after the wedding, Gretchen invited me to lunch. Just the two of us. A restaurant near South Park she liked because the manager knew her name. She ordered for both of us without asking what I wanted. Then she set her fork down, folded her hands, and said she had been thinking. "Vivian, Tyler and I have been talking. The family has a trust, the Prescott Family Trust. It manages the real estate, the investments, tax planning. We think it would be smart to fold your business assets into the trust. For efficiency. For protection." She said it the way she said everything. Like she was offering a gift. I took a sip of water. "I appreciate that, Gretchen. But Rowan Home Health is my company. I built it before I married Tyler. I'd rather keep it separate for simplicity." Her smile held. It didn't reach past her cheekbones. "Of course, dear. Just something to think about. The offer is always open." That night, Tyler brought it up again at the kitchen sink. "Mom was just trying to help. She knows about this stuff. Don't make it weird." I dried a plate and put it away. I said no. He went quiet. That was the first time I felt it. The invisible cord that ran between Tyler and Gretchen and tightened every time I pushed back on anything involving money. It was thin. Almost invisible. But when I tugged one direction, he always leaned toward her. I let it go that night. I had patience to see in the morning. I chose the problem I could solve over the one I hadn't named yet. That was a mistake I would not make again. The months passed. Then came the transfers. I found the first one on a Tuesday night while reconciling our joint checking account. $12,000. Wired to an account number I had never seen. I showed Tyler the bank statement. He barely looked at it. "Mom needed it for a property closing. Short-term bridge. She'll pay it back." "Tyler, that is our emergency fund." He shrugged. "It's just temporary. Don't make this a thing." I set a boundary. I said, "From now on, no transfers from our joint account without both of us agreeing first." He nodded. He said, "Fair enough." 2 weeks later, $5,000 more was gone. Same account. No conversation. When I confronted him, he said Gretchen had a tight deadline and he didn't want to bother me while I was working. As though asking me before spending my money was a bother. That weekend, I opened a personal account at a different bank. Moved my business income there. Rerouted my direct deposits. Left just enough in the joint account for household bills. Tyler didn't notice for 3 weeks. When he finally did, he asked why. "Because I work 60 hours a week for that money," I said. "And I should know where it goes." He went quiet. The cord pulled. I felt it. But this time, I didn't let go. I started building walls he couldn't see. That was the first one. It would not be the last. I threw myself into work. New contracts came in. A regional hospital wanted Rowan Home Health to handle their post-discharge program for 3 full counties. The biggest deal since I had started the agency. I hired 3 new nurses, bought a second van, stayed at the office until 9 most nights. I missed Tyler's birthday dinner. Gretchen organized it. I called to apologize. Gretchen picked up Tyler's phone. "Oh, we understand, sweetheart. Business comes first, for some people." She said it softly, like a pat on the head. Tyler didn't call me back that night. When I got home, He was asleep on the couch with the television on. I stood in the doorway for a long time. There was a version of this where I sat down beside him and told him everything. The money. The boundaries. His mother. The invisible cord. I could have said it all. But I was tired. Bone deep, 60-hour-week tired. The hospital contract needed signatures by Friday. One of my patients had fallen. 2 of my nurses had called out sick on the same day. So I put a blanket over Tyler and went to bed. I told myself that if I built something stable enough, the instability at home wouldn't matter. That security in one part of your life can compensate for chaos in another. It cannot. I know that now. But at the time, I was still running. And the people behind me were getting closer. The certified letter arrived on a Monday. A property lien. One of the commercial buildings Tyler co-owned with Gretchen, a strip mall on Independence Boulevard, had $340,000 in unpaid property taxes. 3 years overdue. I sat Tyler down that night with the letter between us. I didn't raise my voice. How bad is it? He said. Mom says it's manageable. I leaned forward. Tyler. How bad? And he cracked. Piece by piece. The Prescott commercial portfolio, 6 buildings Gretchen had managed for 30 years, had been quietly bleeding since the market turned. Vacancies. Deferred maintenance. Loans stacked against equity just to keep the lights on. Total exposure somewhere close to $900,000. Gretchen had hidden the numbers from everyone. The neighbors. The church friends. Paige. Tyler. The Prescott name still looked solid from the outside. Inside, it was hollowed out like a beautiful house built on sand. That evening, Gretchen called. Warm as always. Vivian. I know Tyler told you about some of the challenges we're facing. I didn't want to burden you. But we are family. Family shares. And I was wondering if, just a temporary bridge, 6 months, if we could arrange a transfer from your business accounts to stabilize things. We are family. Family shares. She said it like a prayer. Like something you say before you ask someone to hand over what they earned. No, I said. Clear. Final. There was a pause on the line. I see. Well, we'll find another way. She said it like a promise. It was. October 6th. Sunday dinner. Gretchen's house. The 4 of us. A roast. Green beans. And her mushroom risotto, made from a recipe she claimed had been in the family for generations. I ate 2 servings. It was good. I told her so. She squeezed my hand across the table. That night, around midnight, I woke up vomiting. Not the slow queasy kind. Violent. My heart was racing. My skin was cold and damp. The room tilted every time I tried to stand. Tyler drove me to urgent care. The doctor ran basic labs and said it looked like a standard stomach virus. Gastroenteritis. Rest. Fluids. Come back if it gets worse. I asked directly. Could it be something I ate? Something that shouldn't have been in the food? He tilted his head. Possible, but unlikely unless others got sick too. Nobody else got sick. Just me. I went home, slept for 14 hours, and spent 3 days recovering. On the 2nd day, I wrote it all down. Date. Location. What I ate. Who cooked. Who else ate. Who reported symptoms. Just me. I put the note in my desk drawer at the office. I didn't know what it meant yet. But the part of me that had spent 4 years in an emergency room, the part that had seen patients arrive with symptoms that didn't match their stories, that part was paying attention. Tyler told me Gretchen felt terrible. That she had triple-checked her ingredients. He said it smoothly, like he had practiced it. 2 weeks later, I was back at work. Back on Saturday patient visits. Back to normal. Except Tyler wasn't normal. He started asking questions he had never once asked in 3 years of marriage. How does your business bank account work? Is it only in your name? I looked up from my laptop. Why? Just curious. Estate planning. Mom said we should understand each other's finances better. I didn't answer. I changed the subject to the leaking faucet in the bathroom. That night, after Tyler fell asleep, I pulled up my LLC operating agreement and read every clause. The succession plan was standard boilerplate from when I first incorporated. If I became incapacitated, Tyler, as my spouse, was listed as interim manager with authority over business operations. I had written that 2 years ago. Before the missing money. Before the invisible cord. Before the risotto. It was an innocent clause when I signed it. Now it read like an open door. I checked my healthcare power of attorney. A durable financial power of attorney, stapled behind it, gave Tyler broad authority over my accounts and assets in the event of my incapacitation. My chest tightened. I was not a suspicious person by nature. I was a nurse practitioner who evaluated symptoms and built treatment plans based on evidence. And the evidence was starting to point somewhere I did not want it to go. I opened a new document and began drafting changes to my succession plan. It was midnight. Tyler snored softly beside me. I typed in the dark. Then came the day I found the folder. Tyler's work bag sat on the hallway bench the way it always did. Brown leather. Scuffed at the corners. I was looking for a phone charger he had borrowed. I unzipped the front pocket. My fingers found a manila envelope. Inside was a document. A healthcare power of attorney bearing my name at the top. Tyler Prescott listed as my healthcare agent with broad financial authority. Dated 7 months earlier. With my signature at the bottom. Except, I had never seen this document. I had never signed it. I stood in the hallway for a long time. The house was quiet. Tyler was at his mother's. I could hear the refrigerator humming. A car passed on the street outside. I turned each page carefully. It was notarized. A name I had never heard. Janet Faulkner. Notary Public. Mecklenburg County. I took out my phone and photographed every page. Front and back. The notary seal. The forged signature. I knew my own handwriting the way a carpenter knows the grain of his own wood. This was not mine. I put the folder back exactly as I had found it. Closed the zipper. Set the bag on the bench. That night, I lay next to Tyler in the dark. The man I had married had a document in his bag that could give him complete control over every dollar I had ever earned. And it had my name on it in someone else's handwriting. I called my friend Nora the next morning. She was a pharmacist at the hospital where I used to work. Sharp. Direct. The kind of woman who tells you the truth even when you don't ask for it. We met for coffee. She stirred her latte slowly. Set the spoon down. Viv, last week, someone called our pharmacy asking about your prescription history and medical records. They said they were calling from your primary care doctor's office. Verifying medications for a hospital pre-admission workup. I don't have a pre-admission workup. I know. And the callback number didn't match your doctor's office. I flagged it under HIPAA and reported it to my supervisor. I asked what they had specifically asked for. Her eyes didn't waver. Full medication list, known allergies, and any history of psychiatric treatment or cognitive impairment. The room went quiet around me. I told Nora everything. The illness after dinner. The questions about my accounts. The forged power of attorney with my name on it. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she placed her hand flat on the table between us. Vivian. You need a lawyer. Not the Prescott family lawyer. Not Tyler's recommendation. Your own attorney. Someone who owes nothing to anyone in that family. She paused. And if you think you were poisoned, and I think you should seriously consider that possibility, get baseline blood work done now while you're healthy. So if it happens again, there's something to compare against. I called the North Carolina State Bar referral line that same afternoon. They gave me 3 names. I picked Rachel Keller because her firm was small, independent, and had no connection to any real estate network in Charlotte. Her office was on the 2nd floor of a brick building on East Boulevard. Simple. Clean. No oil paintings. No mahogany. No performance. She listened to everything I said for 4 to 5 minutes without interrupting once. Then she set her pen down. You have a forgery. You have a pattern of financial boundary violations. You have an unauthorized inquiry into your medical records. And based on what you're describing, you have a very narrow window before they escalate. She pulled out a legal pad. Here's what I recommend. First, we restructure your trust immediately. Tyler comes off as beneficiary and successor trustee. I go on as interim in the event of incapacitation. Second, your business succession plan gets the same treatment. I replace Tyler as emergency manager. Third, I pre-file a challenge to that forged POA with the Mecklenburg County clerk. If anyone tries to present it at a hospital or court, the challenge is already in the system. She looked up. Fourth, and this is the one I need you to think about. We set up a dead man switch. I asked what that meant. You check in with me at a set time. If you miss the check-in and I can't reach you, I automatically execute a package. Temporary restraining order. Police report. Asset freeze. Emergency divorce filing. All pre-drafted. All ready to go. I signed everything that afternoon. I didn't feel powerful. I felt prepared. And sometimes, that is exactly the same thing. Then one night, Tyler left his laptop open on the kitchen counter. He was in the shower. A notification appeared on the screen. An email from Gretchen. To an address I didn't recognize. Subject line. Emergency conservatorship timeline. I should not have looked. But I did. The email was addressed to a lawyer named Harold Brewer. It outlined a sequence of steps. Step 1. After V is admitted to the hospital, T presents the healthcare POA to admissions. Step 2. File for emergency temporary conservatorship citing medical incapacitation. Judge Howell's clerk has confirmed availability Thursday. Step 3. Once conservatorship is granted, redirect business accounts and personal accounts into the Prescott Family Trust within 48 hours. Step 4. Secure signature authority over Rowan Home Health LLC operating agreement through interim management clause. I read it twice. My hands didn't shake. Something inside me had gone completely still, the way it used to in the ER when a trauma came through the door and the room around you narrowed to just the patient and the monitors. They had a judge. They had a lawyer. They had a step-by-step plan to have me declared incapacitated and stripped of everything I had ever built, while I lay in a hospital bed, too sedated to fight back. I took screenshots. Sent them to Rachel from my personal email. Then I closed the laptop, wiped the screen with my sleeve, and set it back exactly where Tyler had left it. I did not confront him. I did not change my expression. When he came out of the shower, I handed him a cup of coffee and told him I was heading to the office early. Rachel's reply came within an hour. This changes our timeline. Get the blood work done this week. And Vivian, do not skip that dinner. The next 5 weeks were the longest performance of my life. Rachel and I moved fast. The trust was restructured. My assets now sat inside an irrevocable trust with Rachel named as emergency trustee. Tyler had no authority. Gretchen had no path. The business succession plan was updated the same day. I changed every password. Email. Banking. Business software. Patient records portal. Everything. At home, I was the same Vivian. I cooked. I watched television with Tyler on the couch. I answered Gretchen's Sunday phone calls with the same warm, patient voice I had used for 3 years. I smiled at Paige's Instagram posts. I brought a casserole to a family cookout and sat in the same chair I always sat in. Inside, I was counting days. Mapping exits. Running every scenario. I felt like an undercover agent in my own home, sleeping beside a man who had signed documents that could have destroyed me. Rachel called every few days. Methodical. Precise. She never rushed, but she never wasted a word. When the dinner comes, she said during our last call, don't eat or drink anything you didn't bring yourself. Carry a sealed water bottle. Check in with me every 2 hours. If I don't hear from you by the agreed time, I execute everything. I told her I understood. I had been a nurse. I knew how to follow a protocol. This one just happened to be for my own survival. I went to see my primary care doctor on a Thursday afternoon. I asked for a comprehensive blood work panel. Liver function. Kidney function. Full metabolic. Heavy metals. Toxin screen. She raised an eyebrow. Any particular reason? I had a bad bout of food poisoning a few weeks ago. I want a clean baseline for my personal records. She didn't push. She ordered the tests. The results came back 3 days later. Everything normal. Every marker clean. I drove to Rachel's office and handed her a printed copy. If my next set of labs shows something that isn't on this panel, I told her. Then someone put it there. Rachel filed the baseline results alongside the pre-drafted police report. One more piece in a machine that was built, loaded, and waiting. That night, I sat in my car in a hospital parking garage. Engine off. Windows up. And I cried. Not from fear. Not from anger. From grief. I was building a criminal case against my own family. The man I married. The woman who had hugged me at the door 3 years ago and told me I was exactly what this family needed. I was preparing to send them to court. Every document Rachel filed was a step away from the life I thought I was building. Every step was necessary. I wiped my eyes. Turned the key. Drove home. Made chicken and rice for dinner. Tyler said it was good. The invitation arrived 2 days later. Gretchen called on a Wednesday evening. Vivian. I'm hosting a dinner this Saturday. Your 3rd wedding anniversary. Just the 4 of us. Family. 7 o'clock. I'm making something special. Her voice was warm. Steady. Deliberate. The way it always was when she wanted something to feel like a gesture instead of a trap. I'll be there, I said. Tyler looked up from across the room. Mom is really excited. She's been planning the menu all week. His voice was flat. He didn't look up from his phone when he said it. Paige texted me that night. Can't wait for Saturday. Gretchen is going all out. Followed by a heart emoji and a champagne glass. 3 people performing enthusiasm for the woman they plan to incapacitate. I called Rachel from my car the next afternoon. Saturday night. That's the dinner. A pause. Understood. I'll be on standby from 6 p.m. forward. Dead man switch is active. If you don't text me by 11 p.m. Saturday, I execute the full package. Copy. Vivian, be careful. But don't back out. If you skip this dinner, they'll just set another date. Better to face it when we're ready than to wait for a version we didn't prepare for. That evening, Gretchen texted. We are family. Family shares everything. Joy, loss, and a good meal. See you Saturday, sweetheart. The same phrase. The same melody. We are family. Family shares. She had said it at the restaurant. She had said it when she asked for my money. She said it now, the week she planned to take everything else. I saved the text. Friday night, I laid everything out on the bed like a nurse prepping a surgical tray. Phone fully charged. Portable charger in my purse. A sealed water bottle with the factory cap still intact. A list of emergency contacts saved on my home screen. Rachel. Nora. The Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police non-emergency line. I called Nora. If I end up at Novant Presbyterian this weekend, I need you to call the hospital and request a full toxicology panel on my blood. Tell the attending physician you have professional reason to believe I was given a substance without my knowledge. As a pharmacist on staff, your report triggers a clinical obligation. The attending will order the panel. Nora was quiet. Vivian. Are you sure you want to do this? You could just not go. If I don't go, they try again. And next time I might not be prepared. You could go to the police now. You have the email. The forged POA. An email outlining a plan is not proof of a crime. It's proof she had an idea. The forgery alone gets reduced to a misdemeanor in most North Carolina cases. I need them to act. I need a substance in my blood that wasn't there 2 weeks ago. That's the difference between a paperwork crime and a felony. Nora exhaled slowly. Okay. I'll have my phone on all night Saturday. Saturday morning, I texted Rachel. If I go silent after 10 p.m. tonight, execute everything. She replied in seconds. Received. Be safe. Be smart. Call me when you can. I put on a dress. Did my makeup. Looked at myself in the mirror for a long time. I was about to sit down at a table with 3 people who wanted to take everything I had built with my own hands. And I was going to let them think they could. I drove to the Prescott house at 6:45. The lights were on. The front door was open. Gretchen stood in the doorway in a navy dress and pearl earrings, arms wide, expression warm. Vivian, sweetheart. The hug was long. She smelled like garlic and shalimar. Behind her, the dining room glowed. Candles on the table. Her best china. A bottle of red wine already breathing on the sideboard. White napkins folded into fans. A small arrangement of hydrangeas in the center. Beautiful. Deliberate. Staged. Paige was already there, leaning against the kitchen island with a wine glass in her hand. Happy anniversary, you too. She hugged me. Held on just a beat too long. Her eyes dropped to the water bottle in my hand. Then back up to my face. Tyler stood by the window. He kissed my cheek. You look nice. His smile stopped at his mouth. When Gretchen moved to pour my wine, I held up the bottle I had brought. I'm on an early shift tomorrow. Water for me tonight. Something moved across Gretchen's face. Quick. Just a flicker behind the eyes. And then it was gone. Of course, honey. Whatever you prefer. She set the wine bottle down. Dinner began. Roast chicken with rosemary. Mashed potatoes. Green beans from the garden. Gretchen told stories about Tyler learning to ride his bike in the driveway. Paige laughed at all the right moments. Tyler moved food around his plate. I texted Rachel under the table. Arrived. All four present. Starting dinner. She replied with a single period. The evening was warm, candlelit, and perfectly staged, like a set dressed for a play where someone was about to get hurt. Then Gretchen disappeared into the kitchen. She returned carrying a glass dish. Tiramisu. Layered espresso and mascarpone, dusted with cocoa. I made it fresh this morning, she said, setting it in front of me. Vivian. I know it's your favorite. I had mentioned liking tiramisu once. 2 years ago, at a birthday brunch. The fact that she had remembered it. That she had been saving that detail the way a carpenter saves a good piece of wood for the right moment. Told me everything I needed to know about what was inside that dish. Paige stood for a toast. To 3 years. To family. To building something together. To sharing everything that matters. She raised her glass. Gretchen raised hers. Tyler lifted his but did not drink. His fork hadn't touched his plate since the main course. Gretchen served me a generous portion. I picked up my fork. The first bite was rich. Sweet. Heavy with espresso. The second bite had something underneath it. A bitterness that didn't belong. Not the sharpness of unsweetened cocoa. Something else. Medicinal. Chemical. Flat on the back of my tongue. I looked up. Gretchen was watching me. Not the way you watch someone enjoy your cooking. The way you watch a clock. I ate a third bite. A fourth. I could hear Nora's voice in my head. Baseline blood work. And Rachel's. Don't back out. One bite wouldn't show clearly on a toxicology panel. I needed enough of a concentration for a lab to quantify. I needed to give them a case they could take into a courtroom. I ate half the tiramisu. Set my fork down. Smiled. Gretchen. This is wonderful. She smiled back. And for just 1 second, I saw something pass behind her eyes that looked almost like pity. 20 minutes after dessert, Gretchen had served coffee. I held the cup but did not drink it. The first wave came without warning. Nausea. Sharp. Rising fast from my stomach into my chest. My palms went cold. The edges of the room softened. Vivian. Honey, you look pale. Gretchen said it before I had even set down the cup. She was watching. She had been waiting. I pressed both palms flat on the table. Steadied myself. Excuse me. I walked to the bathroom. Closed the door. Locked it. My heart was hammering. My vision blurred at the edges. I sat on the edge of the toilet and pulled out my phone. Texted Rachel. Symptoms starting. Had the dessert. Maybe 30 minutes before I lose function. Standby. Her reply came in seconds. Copy. Timer starts now. I'm ready. I splashed cold water on my face. Looked at myself in the mirror. The woman looking back was gray around the lips. Her eyes were glassy, but she was still standing. I walked back to the dining room slowly, each step deliberate. I think I need to lie down. I'm not feeling well. Tyler was on his feet instantly. I'll call Mom's doctor. No. I said it sharp enough that even Gretchen blinked. Take me to Novant Presbyterian. The ER at Novant. Gretchen's hands, which had been reaching for the phone on the counter, went still. Of course, she said after a beat. Tyler, drive her to the hospital. I picked up my purse. My water bottle. My phone. Gretchen held the door open for me. She wanted me at the hospital. That was part of her plan. She just didn't know it was also part of mine. Tyler drove. I sat in the passenger seat bent forward, arms wrapped around my stomach. The streetlights streaked past the windshield. Gretchen followed in her own car. At Novant Presbyterian, the ER team took me in within minutes. Vomiting. Rapid heartbeat. Confusion. They started and drew blood, ran an EKG. A nurse asked Tyler what I had eaten. Family dinner, he said. She might have a food sensitivity. I was fading. I heard Gretchen's voice in the hallway before I saw her. She had arrived within 15 minutes, already taking charge. I need a private room for my daughter-in-law. We're the Prescott family. She needs quiet and privacy. We'll cover the cost. The hospital accommodated. VIP room. Single bed. Couch for visitors. A window overlooking the parking deck. They moved me there within the hour. Gretchen handled everything. Spoke to the charge nurse. Signed consent forms. Stationed herself at the nurse's station like a general directing traffic. I drifted in and out. Each time I surfaced, the room was different. Lights dimmer. Tyler in the corner, head in his hands. Paige by the window, scrolling her phone. Gretchen in the hallway, voice low, speaking to someone I couldn't see. At one point, a nurse checked my phone and asked if I needed anything. I tried to say my phone. The word came out slurred. She patted my hand. Rest, honey. Your family is here. My phone was in my purse. On the chair beside the bed. 3 feet away. 3 feet. It felt like 3 miles. My eyes closed. The last thing I heard was the heart monitor. Steady. Mechanical. Indifferent. I opened my eyes to a dim room. The clock on the wall read 2:07 a.m. The 4 dripped slowly. The monitor beeped at a rhythm I recognized from years of nursing. 68 beats per minute. Steady. I was groggy. Thick-headed. But present. The door was half open. Fluorescent light cut a line across the floor. Voices. Low. Urgent. Gretchen and Paige, standing just outside in the hallway. I didn't move. I barely breathed. Are you sure she took it? Paige. Quieter. Almost amused. Relax, Mom. She ate half the plate. By tomorrow morning, everything will be ours. My chest locked. Every muscle in my body went rigid. But I kept my eyes half closed. My breathing slow. Tyler needs to present the paperwork first thing before she wakes up properly. The POA gives him authority to speak to the bank, the business, everything. It's in his bag. And Judge Howell's clerk is expecting the filing Monday morning. 2 business days, and we control the trust, the LLC, the accounts. She'll be too sedated to challenge it. By the time she's lucid, it will already be done. They moved down the hallway. A door closed. The room was silent. I lay still for 60 seconds. Then I reached for my purse. For my phone. The screen lit my face. 2:14 a.m. battery at 34%. I opened my messages. Found one name. And typed 4 words. Execute the plan now. The reply came in 90 seconds. On my way. Don't say anything to anyone. I set the phone face down on the blanket and stared at the ceiling. The heart monitor beeped. Steady. Mechanical. Patient. Like me. I called Nora at 2:20 a.m. She answered on the second ring. I told her where I was, what floor, which wing. I need you to contact the hospital pharmacy and request a full toxicology panel on my blood. Stat priority. Call the attending on duty. Tell them you have professional reason to suspect I ingested a non-prescribed substance. They'll order the panel. Are you safe? I will be. Just get the order in. She hung up. I pushed myself upright, reached for the chart clipped to the bedside holder, and read the admission notes. Under Healthcare Decision Maker, the form listed Tyler Prescott, per healthcare POA presented at admission. I photographed the page and sent it to Rachel. Her response was immediate. The pre-filed POA challenge is already in the county system. I'm calling Novant Legal Counsel now to flag the contested status. That document cannot be honored. Stay calm. I'll be there by 7 a.m. I lay back against the pillow. The hospital was quiet at this hour. Down the hall, a door opened and closed. Somewhere, a nurse laughed softly. The IV dripped. The machines tracked my heart, my oxygen, my temperature. Every biological fact the prosecution would need. Gretchen had chosen this room because she wanted privacy. But a VIP room in a major hospital is also a room with electronic records, security cameras in the hallway, badge access logs showing who entered and when, and a full chain of custody for every blood sample drawn. She had put me in the best possible evidence locker. For the first time in months. I wasn't preparing. I was watching it land. Rachel arrived at 7:45 a.m. Gray blazer. Black portfolio. No jewelry. She sat in the visitor's chair, placed 2 folders on the bedside table, and opened her laptop. We didn't speak much. She reviewed documents. I drank water. The room was calm the way an operating room is calm. Everything in place. Everything sharp. Waiting. At 8:10 a.m., the door opened. Gretchen entered first. Navy slacks. Silk blouse. A bouquet of pink peonies in one hand and a tote bag in the other. Vivian, sweetheart. How are you feeling? We've been so worried. She stopped. Her gaze had traveled to the chair beside my bed. To the woman in the gray blazer she had never seen before. Who is this? I said it simply. This is my attorney. Rachel Keller. The peonies lowered an inch. Gretchen's mouth opened. Closed. Opened again. Her eyes moved from Rachel to me, to the folders on the table, back to Rachel. Paige took a half step backward. Tyler's hands came out of his pockets. Rachel stood. She buttoned her blazer with one hand and extended the other, not for a handshake, but toward the couch along the wall. Mrs. Prescott. Please, sit down. We have several things to discuss. Gretchen Saturday. And that was the last time she controlled anything in that room. Rachel didn't rush. She opened the first folder and spoke the way surgeons speak. Precise. Unhurried. Every word calibrated. A healthcare power of attorney bearing Vivian Rowan's purported signature had been presented to hospital admissions the previous night. That document was a forgery. A formal challenge had been pre-filed with the Mecklenburg County Clerk's office 6 weeks prior to this admission. The document was already contested in the court system. Additionally, a police report for forgery, fraud, and conspiracy to commit financial exploitation had been filed with the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department at 6:38 that morning. Tyler made a sound. Not a word. Just air leaving his body. Paige's hand found the edge of the couch and gripped it. Rachel continued. An emergency temporary restraining order had been granted by Judge Patricia Weaver at 7:52 a.m. Under its terms, none of the 3 Prescotts could contact Vivian, access her financial accounts, enter her home or place of business, or attempt to exercise any authority under the contested POA. The order had been in effect for approximately 20 minutes. Gretchen looked at Tyler. Say something. Tyler said nothing. The silence stretched. And then Gretchen did what she had done her entire life when a room stopped cooperating. She shifted. She softened. Her shoulders dropped. Her voice lowered to the warm, motherly register she used when she wanted something to feel like love instead of leverage. Vivian, honey, I think you're confused. The medication, the stress, the illness, it does things to your thinking. I've seen it with my own mother. This isn't something we need lawyers for. We're family. Family shares problems, too. Let us just talk about this privately, without. She gestured toward Rachel. I looked at Gretchen. I didn't lean forward. I didn't raise my voice. I have baseline blood work from 2 weeks ago, I said. Every marker normal. And there's a full toxicology panel running right now on the blood they drew when I came in last night. The room went still. If that panel shows a substance that wasn't present in my baseline, and Gretchen, we both know it will, then this is not a family matter. It's a criminal one. Gretchen's composure held for 3 more seconds. Then her jaw tightened. Her hands, folded neatly on her lap, began to tremble. Her eyes went wet. Not from grief. From something closer to rage that had been contained for too long in too small a space. She looked at Tyler. At Paige. At Rachel. And for the first time in all the years I had known her, Gretchen Prescott had nothing to say. Paige broke first. She stood from the couch, her face white, her hands shaking. Mom. She has blood work from before. Sit down, Paige. But Paige was past listening. She turned to me, words tumbling out. Vivian, I didn't know what it was. She told me it was something to help you relax. A sedative. Something mild so you would sleep through the night and Tyler could handle the paperwork in the morning. I didn't know it would make you this sick. I didn't know. Paige. Gretchen's voice cracked like a branch. Paige stopped. Standing there in her cardigan with her mascara beginning to run, she looked young. She looked scared. She looked like a woman who had followed her mother into something she didn't fully understand, because she wanted, just once, to be the daughter who got it right. I saw that. I noted it. And then Rachel spoke. Ms. Prescott had co-signed a forged legal document. She had participated in communications regarding a fraudulent conservatorship filing. And based on her own statements in the hospital hallway the previous night, overheard and documented, she had confirmed knowledge that a substance was administered to Vivian without her consent. Whether she knew the specific compound was a matter for the Mecklenburg County District Attorney. Paige sat down. She did not speak again. Tyler, from his chair by the window. Vivian. Please. I didn't know about. About what? Mom. Rachel cut him off. His signature appeared on the forged document. That made him potentially liable for conspiracy to commit fraud. She strongly advised him to retain separate legal counsel before making any further statements. Tyler put his head in his hands. Gretchen stood. She drew herself up the way she always did. Straight spine. Lifted chin. The posture of a woman who had run the Prescott name like a private company for 3 decades. She looked at me the way she had looked at me the first night we met, but without the warmth. Without the performance. Just the calculation underneath, finally visible in plain light. After everything this family did for you, she said. Her voice was steady again, but brittle. After we welcomed you into this home. After we gave you the Prescott name. After Tyler chose you. This is how you repay us. The room waited. Paige was crying quietly on the couch. Tyler had not moved. Rachel held her pen above her legal pad, still and ready. The heart monitor beeped beside me. I looked at Gretchen from the hospital bed. 4 in my arm. Monitor tracking my heart. Hair pulled back. Eyes clear. I did not stand. I did not raise my voice. I did not list the forged documents, the stolen money, the bitterness in the tiramisu. I just looked at her and spoke quietly. Family doesn't poison family, Gretchen. The room went silent. The monitor beeped once. Twice. Gretchen opened her mouth. Nothing came out. She closed it. Opened it again. 30 years of controlling conversations. And she had no answer for that. Rachel spoke into the silence. I would recommend you retain separate legal counsel immediately, Mrs. Prescott. Law enforcement will want to speak with you today. Gretchen turned. She picked up her purse from the couch. She did not look at Paige. She did not look at Tyler. She walked through the door and down the hallway without looking back. Paige followed, wiping her face with her sleeve. Tyler was last. At the door, he turned. Viv. I'm sorry. I didn't. I know, Tyler. I said it quietly. That's the problem. Within the hour, 2 officers from the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department arrived at the hospital. Rachel briefed them in the hallway before they entered my room and handed over the complete package. The forged documents, the screenshots of Gretchen's conservatorship email, the documented hallway conversation, the baseline blood work, and the hospital's own admission records. The officers took my statement. I gave it the way I had been trained to give patient reports. Facts. Timeline. Specific details. No editorializing. The taller officer asked if I wanted to press charges. I said yes. At 10:15 that morning, the toxicology preliminary results came back. The attending physician entered my room with the chart in hand, his expression careful. Miss Rowan, your panel has flagged an elevated level of a benzodiazepine compound. Specifically a sedative hypnotic not prescribed to you and not consistent with any medication in your records. The concentration is consistent with oral ingestion approximately 8 to 12 hours before your blood was drawn. I thanked him. He looked at the officers in the room and understood without being told. Gretchen was arrested the following afternoon. The charge: assault by administering a noxious substance. A Class C felony under North Carolina law, carrying a potential sentence of 44 to 98 months. Additional charges followed within the week: forgery of a legal instrument, conspiracy to commit financial fraud, and attempted financial exploitation. Bail was set at $150,000. Paige was charged as an accessory to assault and forgery. She cooperated immediately with the district attorney's office. Her plea agreement reduced the charges to misdemeanor conspiracy, 3 years of supervised probation, 200 hours of community service, full restitution. She was required to testify against her mother. Tyler cooperated as well. He provided testimony about the financial instructions Gretchen had given him over 3 years, the unauthorized transfers, the documents she had asked him to sign, the conservatorship plan she had described as temporary estate management. His charges were reduced to a single count of financial document fraud. No jail time, but a felony on his record, permanently. The emergency restraining order became permanent. I filed for divorce the same week I was discharged from the hospital. It was finalized in 4 months. I kept everything I had built. Rowan Home Health. My personal accounts. My trust. My home. None of it had ever been in Tyler's name. None of it had ever touched the Prescott Family Trust. The Prescott house went to auction 3 months after Gretchen's arrest. The remaining commercial properties were liquidated to cover decades of debt. The family that had offered to share everything with me lost everything they had. By tomorrow morning, everything will be ours, Paige had whispered in that hospital hallway. She was right about the timeline. She was wrong about the name. 6 months later, I sat at my desk at Rowan Home Health and signed a contract with a second regional hospital. The expansion meant 4 new hires and 2 more counties covered. My office manager poked her head in to tell me a patient in Union County had sent flowers with a note that read, "Thank you for the nurse who made sure I took my medication."